that was still covered with snow, but I grabbed my pack. I threw my pack right before the boulder, took my hand, swung it over, cleared off a bunch of snow, and was able to actually rest. It's actually a really comfortable rest spot because I was able to take both my elbows, push them down into the snow, so my arms were all rested up, and I was able to take the rifle. The rifle was half rested on the pack, partially rested on the snow that was above the rock, aiming at like a big downhill angle where the buck was. So I was really comfortable. I was able to I wasn't able to lay like as prone as I want. I was kind of like laying downhill. My feet were kind of uphill behind me. So it was like one of those, like my back's all big and arched. And I'm trying to, luckily the snow was there. So I was able to like flop into it and kind of like, conform.
Create a little pivot kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it made me a little more steady too. Because they would like sink down in that snow and then not be able to move the rifle, and the pack was all steady. And that's when I ranged him again. That last time it was 440 yards, and just hit him perfectly. And it just always surprises me shooting a rifle, how long it takes to actually hear the hit. And I always saw the deer move before I heard the hit. And then run like maybe 50, 60 yards, stops again. It's facing kind of uphill, and I didn't adjust anything. Just kind of held a little higher, and because I have an adjustable turret, and I didn't want to mess with it at that time. And took another shot, hit him high in the spine, because that's all I had to aim at, and just fell over, and it was a done deal. And I was just like, I get pretty emotional. Like when I shoot a deer, it's like my time, and it's like something I worked so hard for. And I'll definitely admit it. I sat and messaged my fiance, my dad, and I started like breaking down in tears. Like I'm just like laying on my back, like this is the coolest thing ever. I just like accomplished this solo, grinded it out the day before, snowstorm, questioned my sanity, like all this stuff. Open up the next day, best scenery I've ever seen, like big giant deer, just like worked out perfectly in a spot that I learned to, found it, loved it, just like grinded it out. Just like one of those things like that only a hunter could like understand what you're feeling right there. It's just phenomenal.
That is awesome. So at that point, did you go back up to your camp, or did you just go right over to your buck and get to him?
No, that's kind of the part. I think I kind of second guessed myself now, because I had, like I said earlier, I was basically like a Michelin man when I was sitting there glassing, because I was expecting to be sitting there for a long time, or maybe go down the ridge a half mile, sit down, glass again, pick apart new basins. So I had all my clothes on when I made that stop, and I still had all my clothes on. So like I should probably run back up to camp really quick, because camp was, going to take me probably an hour to get back to, going uphill and how steep it was. And I had all my optics with me, and I was like, no, I just need to get down there, take care of his bucks. At this point, I think it was around 9 a.m. maybe. So I had plenty of time. I was like, I should drop off my optics, drop off the extra stuff I don't need. And I was like, no, let's just go down there. Like I love taking a ton of photos. I'm like, I should just get down there, start taking photos, soak up this moment. I was like, oh, I shot. I know there's potentially grizzly bears here based on like the grizzly bear distribution map from the state. So it's like, is there a grizzly bear in the area that heard the shot? Because everyone always says, grizzlies during this time of year, hear shot, they instantly think gut pile. Could there be one down there? So like maybe I just want to get this done really quick before it gets dark. But yeah, long story short, went straight down there with all my gear on and everything, and started celebrating the moment, like walking up to that deer, and just like he was half buried in the snow. All I could see was his big left side, and his left side was the one that had the big inline on it, and just like he was buried half his body in the snow. And just like the picture perfect thing. Again, like I said, I wish I had someone else with me to like snap photos or video, like me lifting him out of the snow. His rack is all full of snow. His face is, just seeing his big old, body, Roman nose on him, and just seeing like the warrior of a deer in the mountains. Just like what I strive to find, that big old monarch, and got him in the backcountry, got him all, solo all by myself. It's just on cloud nine right there. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's your photos on Instagram for the listeners out there. Follow Brady _J_Miller. Just some beautiful photos of this buck, and that inline on that left side is really cool. I love bucks with inlines. He looks like he's got a pretty big body too.
Oh yeah, I don't know how much it weighed, but I took 3 game bags up there, and it filled 3 game bags to the brim of deboned meat. And it's one of those new Kuyu game bags. I think I had like 2 of the medium narrow and one of the smalls maybe. And I was completely full of meat on all 3 bags. And it was, he's already got that big barreled chest on him and starting to get that big neck. And yeah, it was a big bodied deer and, just a really cool framey deer. And yeah, just like, that's one of those points where like, yeah, I should have maybe went and got those llamas, because now I am, so it was basically, I camped at 9.6. I shot him at 8.5. And so I only had like, a little over 1,000 feet climb back up. And it was like, 3/4 of a mile horizontal distance. Packing him out took like 3 hours and 15 minutes, I think, to get back up to the ridge. And I wasn't even at my camp yet. That's just back to the ridge. It took 3 hours, 15 minutes. I was like exhausted. I was taking, every 5-10 steps. I was like, oh my gosh, I had to take a break. Like, I had all my optics. I had all my camera. I carry extra batteries. I carry extra lenses.
You probably had 150 pounds at that point, I would think.
Yeah, I've deboned meat, and I had the, cape for a shoulder mount. I had the whole skull because I don't have a saw, because I brought the saw last time on the trip. I didn't bring a saw this time because I was solo. So I had to keep the whole skull, the whole bottom jaw, the whole top jaw. Like, it was one of those times I was sat messaging my fiance Ashton, and I was like, I am not going to be able to do this in one trip. It's like, I don't want to sound like I'm being a wuss right now, Ashton. I could be back tomorrow. I'm going to have to take another day and not get back till Sunday. Like, I'm going to have to leave some of this meat up on top of the ridge, stash it in the tree to get away from the bears, and try to beat the sun and hike down before it gets dark out on the other side and try to get all the way back up to my truck and come back up the next day. As much as I do not like doing that, because I hate hiking back up in an area with no pack on. I love hiking, but it's just like, I could do it all at once and get it done. But I was like, I can't do this right now. With that snow, trying to like climb up how steep it was, I only had one trekking pole. So I basically had, 3 wheels going up instead of my 4-wheel drive. And I kept sliding and slipping because the snow's slick and the ground underneath is slick. And I ate it on my face so many different times. I'm surprised the back of my Mule Deer nose hasn't broken from how many times I slipped going backwards even and fell back down. It was probably a sight to see, but it was one of those things where you get done with it. I got up to the top of the ridge and sat down for a while, like probably 15 minutes, and just like, what did I just do? Like, I would totally go back down there, do it right again, suck it up, have whatever it was, 150 some pounds for that short distance, just like feel that success after you work for that. And it's just like, there's nothing better than that backcountry hunt. I love those experiences.
That's awesome. You can just hear the passion bleeding out of you as you're talking, how much you enjoyed it. And I'm glad you got that. You go on so many hunts that you really enjoy and you don't get success sometimes. But then to go and have the experience, and not only that, have, shoot a great buck, and doing it solo, and it's just like the ultimate reward. I'm so glad you got to enjoy that. Let's take a quick break here. I'm super happy to announce that the Go Hunt Insider has just launched the newest insider state, Oregon. Every state is different when it comes to units, draw process, and regulations, and Oregon is one of the most complex states to figure out. Like other states, you'll have the Go Hunt Insider Filtering 2.0 to decide where to apply and hunt, with filters for trophy potential, harvest success, weapon type, season dates, and a lot more. Oregon has 10 big game species and covers a total of 67 units. You will not only get an analysis of units, subunits, and seasons, but also species breakdown with the interactive graphs, plus a state profile that outlines how to apply and fees associated with applying in Oregon. Go to gohunt.com/jscott to sign up and receive a $50 KUIU gift card just for signing up. Reel game calls featuring the elk reel. Reel Game Calls makes innovative, realistic, and easy-to-master calls using their proprietary, revolutionary design. They are located and manufactured in Gypsum, Colorado. Their calls were designed and battle-tested on some of the hardest hunted terrain on Earth. Check out elkreel.com. Use the promo code JSCOTT and receive a 20% discount on all purchases. Go to www.elkreel.com. So, Brady, then did you go up to your camp, and then did you just end up What time was that? And did you end up just staying there that night and packing everything out, or did you ultimately do 2 trips?
Yeah, I ended up actually doing 2 trips. So I basically got up to the ridge, and for the ridge where I was, it was probably another mile hike along the ridge and dropped down a little bit in the timber where my tent was. And I was like, I got to beat the sun right now. I don't want to camp up here. I don't have to deal with my clothes smelling like blood. I'm by myself. Like it's snow, so the scent's going to be around way more. I'm going to lead a blood trail. I'm just going to hang a bunch of meat in the tree. So I just kept whatever I had on me already, like my optics, my camera gear, my rifle, and a bunch of the meat. And so I stashed 2 of the game bags, hung in a tree, kept the cape, the head on my pack, and just started hiking back down the mountain. It was about, I think by the time I was on the ridge, I had an hour and a half left until it was dark. And so basically I just like said, screw it. I'm not going to find the trail. There's a trail way down below me. It's snow. I'm just going to go straight down the mountain as best I can, avoid all the nasty rock cliffy areas, and just try to like navigate myself and get down as fast as I can to the trucks. I wanted to beat the darkness, and I still had a long drive out of where I was at. So I was like, I'm just going to, at this point too, here's the crazy part. I woke up in the morning and I figured, oh yeah, I'm going to go that way and go glass before I actually saw that big buck. I haven't eaten anything all day. I did not go eat breakfast in the morning because I was like, oh, I was going to go, get my stuff
Glass
later.
for a few minutes, yeah.
Yeah, and go grab my food. Like I had my food hanging in a tree. So at this point, I had not had any food. All I had was water. And I'm like, I just want to get down the mountain, find the dirtiest fast food place, little mom and pop restaurant I can, pound a bunch of coffee and celebrate. I was like, I want to get off the mountain right now. So I just like boogied down off the mountain and knew I had to come back up the next day. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's another day I have to be gone, but that's fine. I'll enjoy it tomorrow. And drove all the way out to the town I got to the town about like 9:00. Everything's closed.
Oh, no.
The gas station was closed. Couldn't even get any like extra water. So I had water in the back of my truck, but I was like, oh, I really would love like an orange juice, something besides water, some like normal food if I can get it. I'll take gas station food if need be, because all I had was like protein bars in my truck. I had some peanut butter, and I was like, I've already eaten that forever, but it's like I want something good to celebrate, and I had nothing. So I slept in my truck and said I'll wake up in the morning when the grocery store opens. The grocery store opens at 7. Grab some food quick, relax, have some coffee, make the long drive back up in the mountains. And then at this point, the next day was just gorgeous. Like I'm really glad I got my buck the day I did, but the next day it got a little hotter. It was maybe in the 40s, and stuff was starting to melt and starting to get wet. And as I hiked back up the mountain trying to get the rest of my deer meat, I kept getting like dumped on by snow melting off the trees, and it was a picture perfect day, and it was just like one of those enjoyable hikes. But I just wish I would have been able to get done the night before, but it was just adds to another cool story, I guess.
So you got up there, had anything touched your meat, or was it okay?
No, the meat was all solid. That's what I was really, kind of concerned about. I haven't seen any bear tracks up to this point, and I didn't. I don't know if you use the new Kuyu deboned bags, but those handles on them. They're phenomenal. Like moving that meat around from my pack to where I hung my thing, and it easily just shimmy up the tree a little bit, and I was able to hang it on a branch that was overhanging, and it just stays there. You don't have to worry about, I need to double tie the top of my bag really tight. Is this going to hold up? Like game bags didn't even move throughout the night. They were not frozen, but they were really cold because it got down below freezing again. But not touched at all.
The handles. I wish the handles would actually be on the game bags as well.
That's a.
I think if they put a couple of those handles, on the side, you could hang them up in trees easier, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was worried about too in the game bags when you if they're the quarter bags, when you cinch that drawstring tight, you still have to take it and make a knot out of it too, and then pull it tight because all the bugs will still kind of get there. So if they did have that, I don't like hanging it then from that point, because when you hang it from that point after you tie a knot in the top to keep the bugs out, it makes that knot so tight that sometimes I'm like, man, I can't get it out.
You just have to cut it at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, or find some water and like soak the end of it in water for a bunch of while until it gets pliable again. But it's like, if they had a handle on there, they can hang it from that handle. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. So you just packed everything up and out you came and got back to your truck?
Yeah, hiked back up, got the tent loaded. That's the funny thing. I was saying I put my tent underneath the spot that had a big giant tree over it, but the tree wasn't that tall. It was just really wide, and at the point where it was like just a bunch of pine needles above me. So there's tons of stack of snow right above my tent. I get up there and there's just like my tent's just full of snow. Like there's like, I don't know, 1.5 feet, 2 feet of melted snow all over my tent. And I'm like digging out to try to get to my tent because it's all full of, snow, tree branches from the wind and everything from the night before. And it was kind of like one of those things like, man, that tent can hold up to some abuse, because it was like, the poles were kind of leaning because the tent was been sitting there and no one had been like kicking the snow out, but it held up just fine. Poles weren't broken at all. And grabbed all that tent, hiked down off the mountain with that, comfortable weight. And it was really enjoyable pack out. Saw a bunch of moose on my way out, a bunch of elk. And yeah, it was just one of those scenic days, just hanging out, and packed out meat.
That's awesome. On that tent, do you have the, I'm not sure if they're aluminum or titanium, or do you have the carbon fiber?
Yeah, there's the carbon fiber ones. Yeah, I'd prefer to go lighter if possible.
Yeah. I have the carbon fiber on that tent as well. I really like that tent.
Yeah, it's a bomb-proof tent.
Well, congratulations on your buck. The listeners can go on Brady's Instagram and check out those photos. I think you also have an article on Go Hunt. But let's go over the gear. You did such a great job on the gear on the last podcast for your summertime hunt. Let's go over the gear you used on this hunt.
Yeah, definitely. So basically all the gear list I talked about before, it's very, very similar to what I did now. The only thing I kind of did was made a few modifications for cold weather camping. So I still kept my sleeping bag the same, 30-degree bag, because I have a down jacket, down pants, tons of clothes with. If I did get cold, if I was really, really cold and I had that lantern, I could throw all the other stuff on and be really warm. But I did, like I said, upgrade the tent to the KUIU tent from my tarp tent. And all the other food stuff's still the same, still the Pro Bar, still the, Mountain House meals, still my breakfast protein oatmeal combination deal. But basically for like clothing wise, I switched up, and so I'll break it down by top, bottom, and then like gloves and headwear. So the tops, I was using an Ultramerino 145 zip tee, and then over top of that, I also had an Ultramerino 210 zip tee. So that's kind of like a little thicker one that has that polyester.
I love that one.
Yeah, that's a pretty comfortable one. I even use that like actually bare skin a couple of times. I don't have anything underneath it, and I thought I would get itchy, but actually it's fairly comfortable.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I had a Peloton 240, and then I had a super down hooded jacket, and I also had a super down vest, and I wore a guide jacket. So that's what I was saying earlier. I was like, I was a Michelin man when I was up there. I have all this big heavy gear on, and then I also brought my Ultra NX rain gear as like a windproof layer. So I put that on as well when I was sitting there glassing, because it was slightly windy in the morning for a little bit, but I probably didn't need that. It was a little overkill.
And what was the temperature that last morning when you were glassing?
Yeah, so when I checked before I hiked up there, I was predicting that was going to be 16 degrees out down in the valley. So I'm assuming it was 16 up there, maybe a little less, maybe even closer to 10. I don't know. It was really cold. Like my water bladder, I forgot to like clean out the hose and push all the water back down in the main water. I kept the water next to my sleeping bag, but the hose was hanging out, and my water was all frozen when I woke up in the morning. Like the whole tube was completely froze solid. So hey Jay.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it said call disconnected or call failed.
No sweat. So just start right back in. Your tube had frozen.
Yeah, so the tube had frozen, and at this point I was like, maybe I should have taken a lot more winter gear up there. And I was like, gosh, I should have. Those llamas again would have been great right now, because I could have, taken a little like small wood stove, something to keep warm at night. But I was like, oh.
But it wasn't really predicted to have, 1.5 feet of snow, though, was it?
No, it was definitely, the snowstorm was supposed to be just Wednesday and not on Thursday. But like Thursday morning when I started hiking up, I was hiking up in the dark, and it was, not snowing yet. It was slightly foggy up, and then I got up there later, and the snow started dumping, and so I was just like, it's just like, what are you going to do when you're all by yourself now and you don't have llamas? You have to just put it all in your backpack and hope that's enough gear you brought up there. And still remember, you got to carry all the gear back out too, so you can't like go crazy with this winter gear. So it's like a fine line I'm trying to play of like, okay, enough to survive, and enough to still be mobile and not kill myself on the hike out.
Yeah.
And
What footwear did you have?
I don't like hiking. My feet kind of get really warm when I hike with an insulated boot, especially that far. So I still kept with a non-insulated boot, and it was just like I can't remember what the height is, like a 6-8 inch boot. It's a Loa Tycam GTX. It's like it's pretty good mountain leather boot. And then for like the footwear to continue, I had I took the longer Kuiu Yukon gaiters, so just like bomb-proof in the snow. And then for socks, I had the Kuiu Ultra Merino socks, the taller ones. And also underneath that, I doubled it up with a liner sock. So my feet are fairly, this combination, like you can get in really far and hike, but then when you're glassing, you're definitely going to be cold. Like this is probably one of those times I should have brought I have down booties that I can put on over my feet when I'm sitting there glassing, but I didn't bring them on this trip because I didn't know it was going to be, so cold. That's one of the things I should have brought them in my truck and made the decision there. But my feet were cold when I was glassing, but once you move around, you're going to be warm. For bottoms, I wore, this is kind of where I doubled up way too much again, but it was really nice. I had the Ultra Merino 145 leggings. And then on top of that, I had put Kuiu's Peloton 200 zip bottoms. And then, also,
double.
double. But here's the kicker. Then I put down pants on, and then I put guide pants on over top of that.
Wait, so you did the super down, and then you put the guide over the top of the super down?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, you were stacked up.
Yeah, I was toasty warm in the leg category. It's not one of those things you do not want to walk around at all in the setup. But like I said, I was expecting to sit there and grind it out glassing, trying to find a buck, but it ended up working out well. And like I'm like you said, I'm 6'5", really long legged, don't have any body fat on me, so I get really cold really easily. But I love the cold, but my body just doesn't work right, so I have to have a lot of extra stuff.
I'm surprised from a warmth factor. Is that why you put the super down below the guide pant? I'm surprised you didn't put the guide pant and then because the super down pants zip off on. They're unbelievable. Yep. They're like the bottoms. They zip completely off, and they're easy on, easy off. I'm surprised you didn't put those on the outside. Any reason why?
Yeah, I've done that before. I probably should switch to it because since it's a super down, they're slightly waterproof. I just get so concerned still about, I'm used to that older down where you can't get it wet, and I just got so used to not wanting to put them on the outside. So that's like my insulation layer. So I figured if I had to camp another night, gotcha. I only have a 30-degree bag. I really want to jump into my super down pants with all these other pants and be super warm. So I guess you could do it either way, but just for safety factor, I just decided not to.
So if it was really cold but no snow on the ground, you'd probably wear them on the outside. While you're
I'd wear them on the
glassing.
outside.
But since it was wet, you were worried that you didn't want to get that insulation layer because you only brought a 30-degree bag, which is a little light for the conditions you had. But you knew you could always wear your leggings and the super down pants to keep you warm as well. And so you did not want to get those wet. Yep,
that's true. Yep, exactly how I figured it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's one of those give and take. It's one of those give and take things again.
What about for gloves? You were probably undergunned on gloves. I kind of went a little beefy here too. So basically, I fell in love with the Peloton 200s. I used to use merino liners or merino gloves underneath, but now it's the Peloton 200. They're super durable. Over top of that, I threw my North Star glove on. So that's like when I'm sitting there glassing, I'll use that as so I got dexterity in my fingers. I can move them around. If it got really cold, I also had my super down mitts. So a lot of times I take my hands out and I go like bare fingers and, work my digiscoping camera. And while I was doing that, I was like, man, my fingers are cold. So instantly throw my Peloton 200 gloves on, show them my super down mitt, and I'm totally warm. The super down mitts are great for the wind. They cut everything out. And also I did bring, I think I had 2 or 3 of those, just little hand warmers. You can, those ones you shake up to activate. Yeah.
So if I got cold as well, I'd throw those in my super down mitt so my fingers can get warmed up. Because my fingers and my toes and my body, it's a done deal when they get cold. I can't even work a zipper. Back in the day when I was a fisheries biologist, we worked in the cold. I couldn't even pick off my life jacket and pinch the buckles. My hands would get so cold. It's they just don't work with the cold. So
And I think too, if you can keep your toes, your fingers, and your head warm, you're way better off than if one of the 3 of those get cold, because as soon as one of them gets cold, it seems like the other 2 fall in suit for me. if I can keep my head, my fingers, and my toes pretty warm, I'm usually in pretty good shape.
You know, and another thing I was thinking about too, it's like when one of those key things fail, you're not hunting your hardest anymore. You're more concerned about staying warm. So you're not going to be glassing as effective. You're going to be like, okay, I can glass for a little bit, but man, it'd be so great just like cuddle into a little ball right now and try to stay warm and maybe walk around, do some jumping jacks. Like I'd rather go crazy on my optics and pick apart deer and not be like, okay, I got to warm my feet up, got to stand up, got to do this. Like you hunt more effectively, I think, when you prepare yourself for that.
Yeah, for sure. What else? Yeah. What else are we missing here?
Headwear. So now I switched up, and I ran the Peloton 200 beanie, and on top of that, since again I get kind of cold, I run the Peloton 240. I brought the.
You love that 240? I love that 240.
The 240 is phenomenal. Like I probably did not need that when I went on my hunt in Nevada in August, but I brought the Peloton 240 because like it's so great at night. Just like cover my ears a little bit, sitting there sleeping. It's like it's my go-to headwear piece right now.
It just feels good too. I mean, it's soft. I just love that. I just love that beanie.
Yeah, it's soft. It's like technical. You can hear with it. It's super comfortable. It's everything you want in like a good beanie, you know.
Yeah. And
then to round out that, I did bring a balaclava as well. Their Peloton balaclava, just to like, you know, fully eliminate the elements. Is, you know, if I had wind situation, I do have a lot of hoods. Like my base layers, I could cut out some of the hoods of mine, but I really love. I can throw on my Peloton hood. I can throw on my Super Down hood, and I can throw on my my guide jacket hood, and the elements can't affect me. And then with that Peloton as well, zip it all the way up. Like I said, I can still glass. I can still do everything effectively. My body's not getting cold. I'm not losing, you know, valuable heat, and I just. I feel like that works.
Not to mention you've got the Ultra NX jacket too. You could use the hood on it.
Yep. So if it was going to snow or I was going to start to get wet, yeah, the guide jacket is, you know, DWR. It can, you know, hold water or repel water, but it's like that thing's so light. Might as well be prepared for anything it throws at you, especially since it's winter. You know, you got to throw in the extra precaution. Like summer, yeah, I get pretty careless sometimes and go really ultra light, but this time like you can't go super ultralight when you're hunting in snow in the mountains. It's like it's a hard thing to figure out unless you add, you know, llamas and stuff like that, where you could expand your gear choice a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about anything else we're missing there on gear.
I think that nails it. Yeah, I talked about the tent, talked about the gear. I mean, I was shooting.
I'll tell you. I backpacked much different conditions, 95 degrees last weekend with Darn, his youngest son. But I went back to the Excel spreadsheet on that last podcast we did. And Excel spreadsheet, you can go on gohunt.com and get this spreadsheet on an article that Brady did. I'll tell you, you turned me on to a couple things that I really like, and that's the Pro Base and the Pro Bar meal, peanut butter chocolate chip and peanut butter chocolate.
Aren't those things good?
Oh my goodness. And they're filling too.
Yeah, they're hearty. Like if you really want to go crazy, like I mentioned in there, I use that Justin's peanut butter, Justin's almond butter, Justin's hazelnut butter.
I got that too. I love that.
Throw a little bit of that on there, and you're protein packed. You feel like you're like one of those guys going to the gym bodybuilding right now. Like you feel hearty inside.
Yeah, it was. I was gonna say I got the honey stinger honey waffle. I got the Justin's chocolate hazelnut butter, Justin's maple almond butter. Love that. I got the macadamia nuts like you recommended.
Yep. They're odd tasting, but in a way they're satisfying as well, and they're super packed with calories. You feel like warmer, like a cold weather hunt like this. I think it's better for your body with all those nice fats in there. Yeah.
So those were a couple things that I added to my kit from you that I really liked. It was good stuff.
So I think that pretty much rounds a lot of the gear out. I mean, since it was a rifle hunt, I was using a Browning X-Bolt.
Yeah, what gun were you using? Yeah, how do you like that?
Oh my God, the Browning X-Bolt is like a factory gun on steroids. It's like I don't know what it is. The trigger's super crisp. I adjusted my trigger. I think I'm at like 2 3/4 pounds right now on the trigger pull. You know, I have a 300 Win mag. My dad shot 300 Win mags his whole life. I have 2 300 Win mags now, but it's like my dad's always taught me like you shoot anything. It's like I kind of shoot a medium heavy arrow. It's like I hit something with a 300 Win mag, it goes down. Like you hit it and you don't have to worry about animal running away. Yeah, it's not the fastest caliber. Yeah, it's not the most flattest shooting. You probably get something a little better, but it's like that caliber has worked for my dad. My dad's a big long range rifle junkie, basically. I mean, he has custom rifles. He has stock rifles that he soups up. He knows a lot about long range shooting, turrets, setting up, cosine indicators, Coriolis effect of the earth rotating. Like my dad's a geek, and so he kind of like throws that on. He's like me, how I take my archery stuff. He's like the same way on rifles. So I've kind of evolved now, and I'm geeking out on rifles just like I used to geek out my bow. So I have the Browning. I have a Vortex PST 6-24 by 50 scope. So it's a beefy scope. And it's kind of the same thing like my bow. Like we talked about in the other episode, I love a heavy bow. I really enjoy a heavy rifle. I shoot really good with it. I've shot, a lot of, animals back in the day with rifles, and shot a bunch of coyote elk with rifles, and they were just like, a hand-me-down rifle. And this shooting a heavy rifle, I'll throw a heavy scope on there. I'll throw a good heavy bipod on there. And I feel more comfortable with a good solid shooting platform. And, this is kind of been really, really fun for me shooting this and geeking out lately.
What grain bullet were you using?
It's a 180 grain Nosler partition. These are my dad's really geeking all this stuff. He hand loaded all my stuff for me. I just don't have the setup right now yet. Cause I'm probably going to add maybe a rifle reloading kit here pretty soon and start reloading my own ammo. But right now, yeah, he reloads it for me. I basically sent my rifle to my dad, or I went back to Minnesota for 4th of July, brought my rifle there. He doped it all in, figured out the best bullet coefficient and started geeking out, and then sent my rifle back. And all I really had to do was, verify my data and build a turret or build a dope chart for it, and verified it in Las Vegas here. And I verified it once I got in Wyoming and made some little adjustments, and boom, I was dead on again. It's super simple. I was very happy with all the work he's done into it and all my research I've done on rifles, and it's a good gun to shoot.
That's awesome. Okay, what would you have done looking back now? What would you have taken differently, or what would you have done differently on either the first or second trip that you could easily say you would have done different, or did you do everything exactly perfectly?
Well, I mean, here's one thing that might upset some people. I probably would have got one of my resident friends of Wyoming and had him come hunt with me the first trip, so I could hunt a wilderness area in Wyoming, because a wilderness area in Wyoming, you cannot hunt it if you're non-resident, and that really irks me. And I'm trying to figure out, I don't know, what something can do, or what maybe backcountry hunters can like help put together. We can try to make this so non-residents can hunt wilderness areas in Wyoming again. It's something that's very frustrating to me. I saw probably one of the biggest deer I've seen in the hoofs. My Colorado deer that I lost last year was actually probably bigger than this, but it was a big 190, maybe 200-inch deer in the wilderness area where I was hunting the first time when I had the llamas, and I could not go after the deer because the grass is the same on both sides of the wilderness area. I can hike and I can fish in the wilderness area, but I cannot hunt in the wilderness area as a non-resident. Just kind of, irks me a little bit. It's our federal land. Should be able to hunt there. I kind of understand a little bit because it's a guide thing. And outfitters, they get money by hunting the wilderness, but it's still like one of those weird deals. Maybe make non-residents, take a training course on backcountry safety or wilderness safety. It's like, it's no different. I'm already 7 miles in. What's 8 miles? What's that 1 mile doing for me? It's like, there's still grizzly bears. There's still danger when you're in the backcountry. Yeah, there might be a little more danger in the wilderness area, but not much. It's just irks me a little bit.
Well, certainly someone like you that's super qualified and, probably more qualified than honestly a lot of people that, than the outfitters, not taking anything away from them. But it does seem a little odd that someone like yourself wouldn't be allowed to do that. That's the first, I've heard of that before, but you bring up a good point. It's kind of the first time I really thought about it from, one of my buddies going hunting and seeing a big buck and not being able to shoot it. That stinks.
Yeah, and I did meet a bear biologist and talk to him for a little bit when I was out hunting, and talked to him since then too. And he did say, I told him I saw a big deer in the wilderness area, and I've seen an outfitter photo that I think is the outfitter who was back there, because I saw his outfitter camp with I think it was a 195-inch deer. So I'm like, that could be the buck. He was camped really close to where I saw the buck, but I'm not sure. So some lucky hunter out there got him, and I'm happy for the hunter who shot the big deer. But yeah, it is what it is. But
PhoneScope is a company that makes custom-molded, precisely engineered smartphone digiscoping adapters. Photographing wildlife has never been easier. It is simple to text photos and videos from your smartphone and share them with your friends. PhoneScope stands behind their product with a 100% money-back guarantee. Get yours now by using the JScott16 promo code and receive 10% discount on all purchases. Check them out at PhoneScope, that's PhoneSkope.com, or on Instagram at PhoneScope. I have known the owners of the Outdoorsman's in Phoenix for over 20 years. They are the authority on optics and hunting gear. Outdoorsman's is the leading designer and manufacturer of high-quality tripods, mounting accessories, and pack systems for all hunters. Their customer service is the best in the business. Go to outdoorsmans.com or call 1-800-291-8065 and use the J. Scott promo code to receive 10% off any products.
I would say probably on the second trip from here, and you'd take the llamas if you had to do it over again.
Yeah, I definitely take the llamas, or here's the crazy thing is I would go less food. I mentioned that in my article that I'm thinking about like taking less food up there, but I got so exhausted when I'm up there, and food would make me more energized. It's like at night, I didn't really feel like eating my mountain house. I would rather had added more water weight or ate more protein bars than make a meal at night or do something like that. So like it was just 2 days. I could have sacrificed a little on the food section, and and then the next day when I shot my deer, I didn't eat anything at all. So it was like I brought all that food up there and packed it all out and didn't eat any of it. It's just like, it's hard to plan for that sort of thing, but it's just carried extra weight I could have put towards other gear, lighten my load a little bit. But
well, what an awesome trip. I hate to even ask, but do you got anything else after this? I think you do.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. It's like the year of the mule deer, I think we said before. I mean, I had opportunities in Nevada and got to full draw a bunch of times on good bucks and never got it happen. I got my friend a nice 160-inch deer, and so I experienced deer in Nevada, had a good hunt here in Wyoming. I have a third season Colorado tag coming up, so.
You dirty dog.
Yeah, it's the year to have a third season. Those dates are prime. As late as it's going to be for quite a while, and getting ready to grind it out there. And after that, I have my family trip. I always take my dad and my brother and my dad's friend from the East Coast to Montana. In this an area I've grown to love over the years when I lived in Montana and just know it like the back of my hand. So I had another mule deer tag in Montana. So I have 2 more hunts coming up, and that's going to be a Thanksgiving hunt. So it's a phenomenal year. Definitely very blessed.
That's awesome. For this Colorado hunt that's coming up, are you going to add any additional gear because you'll have sustained colder weather? How is your gear going to change on this upcoming hunt?
I'm going to be taking insulated boots. I'm probably going to take in some like 800 gram boots. And other than that, I might actually say pretty similar to this. I'm not going to be backpacking on this one, so I will be going back to a central location every night and maybe changing spots and, a lot more, driving around in a vehicle, trying to find the migrations and then parking and hiking out. I'm hoping to, hunt, 3 miles from the truck at least, do a bunch of like big day hunt type things and just follow the herds and figure out where the bucks are and if the rut's going to kick yet. So, I mean, we're going to different hunt, different situation, but it's still going to be just like one of those hunts. I'm going to try to, grind it out knowing like, hey, if I get further away from the roads, further away from these people, might open the door to find a really good deer. So here I'm trying to, hold out for again, that 180 type buck and just see what I can find. It's going to be phenomenal time, phenomenal dates, and a great state of Colorado. So you never know what's going to happen. Yeah,
for sure. I think the only thing that I'm going to be on the strip during kind of that same time, and I think your hunt's the 5th through the 13th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, exactly right.
I think the moon is full right around the. Gosh, I say that now and I don't know, but I want to say it's full around the 10th or 11th of November. That would be the only thing I would think that would maybe slow it down a little bit. But I have a feeling those deer by the end of that hunt, talking about your Colorado hunt, I think they're going to be rutting enough that I don't think it's going to matter. You actually might get a little more midday activity. They might lay up at first light just a little bit, but it'll probably be cold enough and they'll probably move midday because of the full moon.
Yep, that's it. I love like this type of hunt is the same kind of thing I do when I'm in my Montana hunt. 'Cause my Montana hunt in November, I scheduled around the later rut in Montana, and just grinding deer all day. Deer moving, deer rutting. It's such a fun time to pick out deer in the snow, pick out deer. It's November is the magical month for me, mule deer. I love the velvet. I also love this hard horn phase right now. It's nothing better, and can't really do it many places, besides some late season archery stuff. So getting a rifle tag is pretty cool.
Yeah, you're an official mule deer junkie for sure.
Oh, addicted. It's a disease.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, buddy, it's great having you on here, as always, and thanks for sharing your time with us. And I want to give you a chance to let the listeners know how they can find you. And you do such a great job over there at GoHunt.com. Just the content you guys are kicking out every single day out there. Just hats off to you for the great work that you do.
Hey, thank you. Thank you again for having me on. And yeah, it was great talking to you. Yeah, you can, most of the time, I'm big on Instagram and run a lot there. So you can find me on Instagram, just like Brady_J_Miller. And definitely look me up on Go Hunt. I mean, I have a bunch of great writers out there pumping out a lot of cool content. We have a lot of good insider articles coming up around strategies around the rut. We are starting to do some pre-application stuff right now, like how saving up for applications. I'm releasing a bunch of those articles, and I also have a bunch more of like my really geeky technical archery stuff I'm going to start pumping out again right now. So I have a couple of new strategies I've been trying this off season, working towards next year. So it's a fun time to be a hunter. Hunt's coming up, and off season, show season's coming up, and good chance to meet everyone. It's always fun.
Right on, buddy. Sounds good. Well, God bless you and be safe. And I can't wait to see the next installment of the Brady Miller Adventures, the Colorado style.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it again. And yeah, good luck to you as well. And yeah, take care.
Guys, thanks for listening and supporting my podcast. If you would, please go on iTunes and leave me a comment and leave me a 5-star rating. That helps our placement on iTunes. If you'd like to send me an email, you can at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com. You can also follow along our adventures at jscottoutdoors.com, also on Instagram or Facebook. I'd like to thank my sponsors for supporting this podcast: GoHunt.com Insider, PhoneScope, The Outdoorsmans, and Real Game Calls.